Okay, I think we are live now. Check here. Yep. Alright, so today we're going to be doing a review for the Module 2 exam that's coming up. I will be posting it later today, probably around 2 p.m., but it might be as late as 3 p.m. Let's see if there are... So what I'm going to do in this review is, just like the last one, I'll take any questions that people have. I'll talk a little bit about a couple changes that I'm making to the format. Nothing real big, but just a few. It doesn't look like there are any questions posted on D2L, but I'll refresh that throughout the review. But the main thing is it's up to you guys to give me questions for this, to tell me what sort of things you are interested in hearing more about, and I would be happy to talk about them. So the first thing that I wanted to do, given that there are no questions, is to look at the previous exam and just see where things went right, where things went wrong. So let's start with that. Okay, so the first thing is that I would say the first exam went quite poorly in general. So I've divided it into two parts here for the grading scheme, so I'll talk about each. The Section 1 results, the results for the multiple choice, the median score was only 56%, which is quite poor. These are questions that I think you certainly should be able to answer if you've done the reading and listened to my lectures and really took the time to go through the material. So I'm a little disappointed that the scores were so low here. We can look at the individual questions and see where things went awry. Okay, so I won't go through all of these unless people are interested in them, but I have it available to me to go through each individual question if there are any particular ones that you want to talk about, or if you want me to talk about all of them. So that's the multiple choice section. That went not well, I would say. The essay portion also didn't go well. In fact, it went worse. So the median here was only 44%. Again, this is very bad. So it's distressing to me that people did so poorly on both parts of this exam. So let me talk a little bit about, so there's not much to talk about as far as the multiple choice goes, other than you just have to have the information. So I'll talk a little bit about the exam and what my expectations are, how people might improve generally in future exams. So one thing, the biggest problem with all of the essays in the first exam, and there are two main problems. Okay, so the first main problem is that many of you just said things that were false. A lot of the exams did not correctly state or summarize the views of the different authors that you were talking about, which I guess makes sense given the multiple choice results. A lot of you seem to have not grasped that material. The other main problem in the essays were people not making arguments. So you might have stated all of the positions that you were considering correctly, but you didn't engage in any sort of critical analysis, any argument. You just stated the positions and left that as your essay. And that's not sufficient. That's not going to get you a good score. What's going to get you a good score is a combination of having the positions correct and making arguments, giving a critical analysis of those positions. So I don't know exactly what to tell you to do as far as strategies go to improve, other than that those are the two elements that you need to be looking to make sure that you have down. I also noticed that a lot of the essays were extremely short. Now, I did say that there's no minimum, and there were some short essays that did quite well that made a good argument, but you should consider that the exam is set up to give you 40 minutes to write your essay. 40 minutes should be far too much time to just be writing one paragraph or two short paragraphs. I'm not saying you have to write as much as you can during that period. You should write things that are good and important and not just filler. But do consider that you do have a pretty significant amount of time built into the exam for you to answer the essay question. So it's not something that, if you can write it in 10 minutes, you probably have missed something important, or you're not quite expanding enough on your arguments, on your analysis of what the authors have said. So I'm not going to go into specifics of what individual people went wrong. If you have questions about your own result, you can email me and I'd be happy to give you more details about that. But that's, I guess, all I have to say about the previous exam is that it went quite poorly, which I'm sure many of you saw reflected in your grades. And the main things to improve are knowing the material. That's going to be crucial in every exam, is to know the material. And then in your essays in particular, you'll want to make sure that you're making an argument, that you're saying something critical, that you're doing some analysis, you're not just restating the views of the authors. And take some time with it. Actually, spend time writing during the exam. It's set up to give you a lot of time on that portion of the exam. Okay, so having said all that, let me talk a little bit about format changes for this exam. So the exam is again going to feature 16 multiple choice questions. I like the distribution of points between 16 multiple choice, each worth 1, and then the essay worth 9. What I'm going to do in this exam is I will again give you choices of what to write about. I haven't decided if I'll give you 2 or 3. You'll still be required to write about 1. But what I'm thinking of doing is allowing you, if you have the time, if you want to write about more than 1. I noticed that several people did write about more than 1 of the questions, and I only graded the first one in the previous exam, to be fair to everyone. But in this exam, if you find yourself with some extra time, you feel like you've made your argument well in the one that you have chosen to write about, you can write about the others for extra credit. Okay, and you should indicate, and I'll put this in the exam and everything. You should indicate which one is your main response. Your main response will get the full 9 points worth of possible credit. The extra credit ones that you do, the ones that you're not choosing, is your main response. I think I'll probably allow up to, I haven't decided exactly, but it'll probably be 3 or 4 points of extra credit that you can earn on additional essays that you write about. So it's still to your benefit to focus on one, make sure that's very good. But if you end up with extra time, if you end up wanting to answer more than one, instead of just ignoring it, I'll give you extra credit for it. So that's the main format change. The rest should be very similar to the previous exam. You'll have the multiple choice questions. Some of them will be multiple choice, some will be true false, some will be choose that all that apply, but it'll just be select one of the answers. You're still going to have 1 hour to do the exam, and again, I'm going to recommend no more than 20 minutes on the multiple choice. You should be able to do each of them pretty quickly. Spend less than a minute on each question, I would advise. If there's one question that you're really struggling with, maybe you take a little more time with it, but spending more than 20 minutes on the multiple choice section is going to disadvantage you in having time to write a good essay response. So make sure to give yourself plenty of time to write the essay. Okay, that is all that I have to say about the exam. I should say the exam again is going to be due at the end of the day on Monday, so 11:30 or midnight. I'm not sure exactly how it'll work out, but it'll be late on Monday when it will be due. But I encourage you not to do it at the very last minute, because if you have some sort of technical problem, something like that, it's more easily resolved when we're within the limits of the exam than it is if you're asking me to do it after the exam is already closed. Okay? All right. So we have, it looks like one person watching live right now, so if there are any questions about anything to do with the exam, any of the material, any of the logistics, I would be more than happy to answer it. That's what I'm here to do today, is just answer questions. So I will check again on D12 to see if there are any questions that have been posted. Looks like there haven't been. So yeah, I will wait. Yeah, so I'll wait a few minutes, and if we don't get any questions, then I suppose this review session will just be a review of the last exam and expectations for the next one. While I'm waiting, I suppose I can also talk about the term paper option. So the term paper, remember, is optional. It's something you can choose to do to replace one of your exam results. So we're going to have 4 exams throughout the course. You have the option of writing a term paper, which will replace your lowest score there, unless, of course, the term paper would give you an even lower score. I would hope not. So you can write the term paper about any topic in the class. I leave it to your discretion. You might want to email me to make sure that it's sufficiently relevant, but I'm probably going to say yes to just about anything. But one thing that you should definitely be doing, definitely be thinking about if you're choosing to do this, is you should be bringing in a lot of the readings from the course. So don't just give me a term paper on something unrelated. Make sure that you're integrating the material from the course into your term paper pretty extensively. I've given in the syllabus some more detailed points about length and formatting and things like that. The date that it's due and so on. But yes, please, if you want to do the term paper, I'd be more than happy to take a look at your topic, take a look at drafts along the way as you're writing it, and give you some help with that. So it's something you might want to consider, especially if you did particularly poorly on one of the exams, because as you can see in the syllabus, the main portion of your grade is in the exam results. There's some extra built in, as I said, to help out, and most of you got most of that so far. Continue doing the entrance quizzes; those are a little bit of help with that. But if you've done poorly on the exams, you're not going to do well in the class as far as your grade goes. So consider the term paper option if you're in that sort of situation. Okay, let's see. Doesn't look like I'm getting any questions, so I guess that's it. You can expect the exam to be posted around 2 p.m. At the latest 3 p.m. today. And you will again have 3 days to finish it. Okay, that's it. Great. So thanks for watching, and good luck on the exam.